Hey, how about some quick information on flying the Thunderbird? Now, some of you might not need this information, but I thought it would be helpful to share it because I use it, and so far it's worked for me. So let me tell you about it. What it is whenever I first started, the big thing was tail, contrasting tail. You want a tail that's got a lot of contrast between it and the wing. It'll help you keep oriented. And I think I've hit on something that's actually better than having a tail that's of a contrasting color. And it's actually pretty simple. It's also something that I use whenever I teach people to fly. Whenever the model's flying away from you, it's obvious you'll see the tail and you see the trailing edge of the wing. And whenever it's coming at you, it's obvious that you see the leading edge of the wing. However, whenever you go to make a turn, if you make a turn in front of you, notice that we see the leading edge of the wing, and as we turn, the wing actually splits, so we have a left side and a right side, and we can follow that. Well, whenever we do that, we know that the model's coming at us. If the model's going away and we make the turn, if we key in on the trailing edge and the leading edge, if you key in on that, and don't worry about the tail or its color, worry about what you see as the model starts coming around. As the model rotates through the turn, you'll notice that you'll go from seeing a leading edge and a trailing edge. As it comes around, you'll pick up on two leading edges. In other words, you got the left side and the right side. Well, if through that turn, let's say halfway through the turn it's flying like this, you got one leading edge and one trailing edge, and it looks really long. But in that turn, maybe you hit a gust of wind and all of a sudden it starts going this way. Well, you can pick up on that right away because you're looking for the leading edge to come into focus. And in reality, what you're starting to see is the trailing edge. And there's a definite difference in the way the trailing edge looks and the leading edge looks whenever you're viewing the model and it's in the air. So if you watch my videos, maybe you've seen a video where you can see the model real clear during the day if it's not cloudy. Today is an overcast day and it's not real good for video of this demonstration. I may shoot some video and we'll see if it works out. But what I want you to pay attention to is the fact that use the leading edge and the trailing edge of the wing in order to tell orientation. So again, if it's coming at you, you're obviously going to see the leading edge. If it's going away from you, you're going to see the trailing edge. As it turns out in front of you, you obviously get to see the whole top of the wing or the bottom of the wing, depending on which way you're turning. But more importantly, as it's making a turn, look at what you see. If you see two leading edges, then you know that it's going the right way, it's coming back to you. If you see two trailing edges, then you can figure that the model is going away from you. So key in on the leading edge and the trailing edge, and I think you'll find that it'll be much easier to maintain orientation with the model. One other thing is about control. Now, this model has a fixed elevator if you set it up the way I recommend and the way that I fly mine and the way I've flown mine since video update number 20 in my video series that talks about this project. So it's been quite a while since my ornithopters have seen an elevator. And I don't really have any plans to add the elevator, but I did make revisions. So if you're one of those guys that say, hey, I gotta have an elevator, well, you can add an elevator to it. There's a place for it. So you don't have to worry. But if you'll set this model up the way that I've been flying it and fly it the way that it was designed to be flown, you won't miss the elevator. But one really important thing about steering. If you build your model and you fly it and oh, it flies great, but it don't turn. Whenever you go to turn, if you turn and all it does is dive or it turns and dives, it's because you're giving too much input. And what I mean by that is whenever you set up your radio, you move the stick to the left and to the right, the tail moves an awful lot. Well, whenever you have it flying and it's flying properly, you can move the stick 1/4 of an inch, no more than 1/2 inch in either direction and do anything you ever want to do with the Thunderbird. So what I'm saying is you only need to move the stick no more than 1/2 inch ever. never do you need to move it more than a ½ inch. So if you've got a radio and you're moving the stick all the way over to make a turn, you're turning way too much. So this is a case where less is more, and it really is. So, but the only thing is, you have to keep in mind that as soon as you give an input, it's not an instant response. Give it 3 seconds and it will respond, and it will respond surprisingly well. So initiate your turn by holding over the control 1/4 to a ½ inch. Again, no more than a ½ inch, and a ½ inch in most cases may be too much. So try a little bit and just hold it and wait and watch and see what happens with the model. I think you'll be really surprised at actually how much authority you get by giving very little control input. So if you have any issues with it not wanting to turn, try less input, and that should fix that issue. If you have any questions, you can send me an email or give me a phone call. I am more than happy to help you and assist you get your Thunderbird flying like mine. Okay, so now we can see that the model is turning and it's going to be coming to us. Notice the leading edge. And now watch, I'm going to turn it right in front of us. See, we can still see leading edges, leading edges, leading edges. Now as it goes away, we can concentrate on the trailing edges. Notice that we see the trailing edges. Okay, now watch. As we slow it down, I'm going to slow the flap rate down. I'm going to make a really gentle turn. This is only about an 1/8 inch of steering input. Notice the trailing edges, no edges, and now I can see 2 leading edges as it comes around. And again, I'm just holding about an 1/8 inch of stick input. And actually now I've let go of the stick input. So it's going to go ahead and continue to circle around. And then it's going to sort of go straight. There, it's happening to be going straight. Okay, so now I'm going to go back the other way. So now I'm going to turn to the right. And watch, we see the trailing edges. Now we see no edges. Okay, but watch. Now we see leading edges. And now I'm going to go back the other way. And we watch, and now you can see no leading edges, but we see the tail and, of course, trailing edges. So again, I'm going to turn around. Again, leading edges. And now I'm going to let it come to us. I'm going to let it get closer to us. And now I'm going to go ahead and make the turn. So again, an 1/8 inch stick input, not very much at all. And see, once it starts turning, it will turn actually pretty sharp. That was no more than an 1/8 of an inch. Matter of fact, I could barely feel myself having moved the stick. So, actually, I have to let go of the stick sometimes to make sure that I even moved it. But you can see that I'm turning left and right, just barely moving the sticks, and yet the model is turning. Now I do have some wind, and the wind is actually blowing straight into the camera here, so it's coming at us. So when I took off right into the wind. But maybe you can see the orientation issue where if you concentrate on the wing, and what you see, like right now we see trailing edges. Now I'm going to see, now I can see leading edges. And of course the tail might disappear in the background too, but if the trailing edge is at us, then the tail is going to be present. We're going to see the tail. See, like we can see the tail right now. We can still see the tail. We can still see the tail, so that must mean we're looking at the back of it. But I'm going to go ahead and make a turn. Now watch, the tail's going to disappear. As it comes around, I see leading edges and I see no tail. Okay, now I can see the tail because it's almost straight above us. But you see what maybe you see what I'm talking about staying oriented by looking at the wing. Look at what you see flapping. Here I can see leading edges. All right, so now I'm gonna turn, and now I see more trailing edge. And also you might keep in mind that the leading edge, especially on this wing, the leading edge is really dark. So you can definitely tell the leading edge from the trailing edge. Now, I'm going to assume that you can see in the video what I can see in the camera. Maybe not, I don't know, but either way, I can definitely stay oriented with the model using the leading edge and the trailing edge, and of course also flying my pattern, knowing where I want to fly and where the model should be. And if I stay on that course, then obviously the model will be where it's supposed to be. If I deviate from the course, well, yeah, then I got to really pay attention, because I can lose orientation real quick. But you can see that by flying this rectangle that I'm going to do now, it's actually pretty easy to keep up with it, because as soon as it turns, I let it go straight, and it does so. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a turn around, and we're going to come in and land so I can end this video. So now I'm headed downwind. I'm slowing the flap rate down. Now watch as I make this turn here. As I make the turn, I'm going to ease in the power, and I'm letting it come around. Now I see two trailing edges. See the two trailing edges, and the tail has disappeared. I see no tail, so that means I'm looking at the front of it. So now I'm going to let it come on down and come in. Now I'm going to ease in the power, because I am headed into the wind. And the idea is to land out there on the line on the runway. So we'll see what happens here. That wasn't too bad. We've just gotten a little rain shower, but I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate my theory with regards to orientation using the black wing and a black tail. Okay, so now I'm going to climb up, and we're going to make a little turn here and coming at us. And now I'm going to make a turn, but watch real close what you see. Okay, so am I turning and going away from us or coming at us? Yeah, that was a little S maneuver there. Okay, same thing. I'm going to turn. All right, watch for the little S here. Coming around, I'm going to go the other way. Now, could you tell that I changed directions? Okay, so now, can you tell that I changed directions? I'm doing a little S out there. And actually I'm using about 3/8 of an inch of input, so it's really sensitive there. Now I'll let it come around. Can you tell the front? That is in fact the front. Alright, let's do that again. Now, let's see if you can tell the front from the rear this time. Coming around. Can you tell the front from the rear? Because now I'm going back the other way. And you're right, we're going to go back the other way. I'm doing a lot of turning, so I'm using a lot more power than normal. So now I'm going to go ahead and come in and land. So let's go out. We don't have a lot of wind, but we do still have a little bit of wind. We got enough to move the windsock, so I'm going to fly out and let it turn and come back toward us. And now I'm going to level out and set up to land right here in front of us. There we are. enjoyed this little update on control and orientation of the Thunderbird. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you for your time and enjoy the hobby.